Hey viewers, it's Random Stuff with Alex Hughes, and today I wanted to talk about NoFap and ego or dominance. And so the reason I want to talk about this was this is one of the, I guess, after effects of the NoFap journey, um, where you kind of it becomes part of your life and you don't think about it too much anymore, and it becomes like a practice, and so you go on with your life and you find other ways you can do self development. However, one thing I found as a consequence of developing confidence and believing in yourself and this idea of self efficacy is kind of, I don't know, for me, I felt like I was starting to develop a big head in terms of like ego and in terms of dominance. And with that comes a lot of adjutants. And so the idea of, I guess, ego is like really how you think of yourself, or what do you look at, or when you look at the mirror, who do you see? And so for a while I was actually I had a lot of faith in what I was doing, and I was doing a lot of work in the community, and I saw a lot of progress happening, and I was trying to boost my confidence level in many ways, and I was focusing on achieving my goals rather than chasing women and getting distracted with those type of relationships. However, I think what I was starting to learn was that I should focus on myself and not focus on the girls, and for some reason I think I started to think I was better than there's this idea I think in my subconscious mind about how I was better than other people, and I held my head high, and stuck my nose out, and yeah, I started really confident, I would say, but then I think I my head was growing a little bit too big, and I could just remember some moments, sitting on the bus or in class. I guess there's certain body language techniques you can do to, I guess, be more confident. I remember before, I was like a nervous wreck, and in class, I was always scared before presentations, and I get anxious, and I wasn't too sure of myself before, in terms of what I was saying or what I was doing, and so I kind of wanted to change that because it really holds you back from being the person you want to be. When you have a lot of self-conscious thoughts, and is this the right thing to say? What are people going to think of me? And what I notice a lot about self improvement is this idea of this middle ground, because it's kind of like when you're on one end, you want to be on the other end, but then when you're on that end, you want to go back to that old end. And I think it has to do with extremes. Are you going to be in the middle, or are you going to go to the other side? Because I was, all the way on the other side, really anxious, scared to present, wondered always like what people thought of me, hesitant around all those people. And then I went to the other end where I didn't care really what anybody thought, and I do presentations, city council meetings, and I would kind of hold my head up high, and I guess this idea of dominance where um I guess the alpha male, and spread, your legs, a wide stance, wide-legged stance, and kind of lean forward, the kind of confidence postures, like this the that type of thing, or the way you put your hands, because that really affects your ability to communicate with other people. It makes you feel more confident in some ways. I think it has to do with definitely body language and the way your brain reacts to that. Because I remember when I was learning about anxiety, and when I did have panic attacks, you would kind of close yourself up, cross your legs and kind of huddle, your shoulders come up, and your heart rate beats faster, and there's all these physiological reactions in your body when you're feeling anxiety. So I wanted to counter that and do whatever I could, whether that be in the mind or the environments or even with body language, to break through that panic cycle, because when you're having a panic attack, you do these things kind of unconsciously, before you recognize the symptoms of a panic attack. And then once you learn about what happens during a panic attack in terms of your physiology, then you can kind of change it when those feelings arise. And so I was on that end, and I learned more about body language, and then I realized how much I was closing up, how much beta traits I was exhibiting in terms of closing up, and so I wanted to change that around by doing more, I guess, confident postures, where wide-legged stance, or putting my hands behind my back, or putting my hands to my sides instead of fidgeting with them, and during presentations, maybe using my hand gestures more when I'm speaking. A lot of different skills that you learn in public speaking, and I wanted to do that in public, um, in different situations. However, that being said, I felt like that was becoming too much for me, in the sense that I was kind of using that to overpower other people. And for some reason, this mindset comes in that, you know, it starts to feel like there's a threat in different places from other people. Like, oh, is this person sizing me up or something? And I think it has to do, maybe it has to do with, the NoFap, um, and having all the extra energy build up now that you're, away from, the PMO cycle. Or could it be with behavior, or could it be with other factors? And so that was kind of a pathway I was going down, with kind of ego and dominance. And I was noticing that with other folks, even in my family life, where I would get more agitated, and I would kind of puff up my chest, and I guess feel threatened or provoked in some way, and I would kind of get, I guess, size myself up, and it's weird because ever since I was a kid, I never really had that power um, within myself, in terms of confidence. I was the one that people walked on throughout school. Um, they thought I was smart, but usually those type of kids are the ones that get stepped on, like a doormat. And so I didn't want to be a doormat anymore, and I didn't want to be walked on or taken advantage of. And that's why I did want to develop some level of confidence. But that being said, I don't want to be the person that treats the other person like a doormat. And so it's weird to see that role reversal. And I think with a lot of personal development, you got to be mindful of how you're behaving. It would be nice to be able to put something on autopilot, be like, well, I think I'm done with personal development. I've basically created myself to be the perfect person, and not have to worry about that. But I guess the reality is you have to be mindful, or your mind will start to, you know, revert back to old habits, or react in an automatic way. I guess, that's probably what I discussed many years ago about, how your mind reacts. And how does your mind react to a certain situation, a thought, emotion? And that's really how you'll remember it in the future. Um, so that was definitely interesting to see that, how the effects of confidence, and how that could push over to ego and arrogance, and thinking too much of yourself, thinking you're the big cheese, and I think that's what some leaders in the business world, have to deal with, is they're the boss, but how do they treat their subordinates, the people below them, and how do they establish that kind of respect? Because that's, I think, really important, is to respect others. And so I think now that I'm more mindful of that, I kind of tamed down a bit, I would say. But the concern that I have is that I'm starting to go back to that kind of a beta mentality, of kind of being self-conscious in what I think and what I do and how I appear in public. And the concern is that because I know that would lead to kind of inauthenticity and not being who I truly want to be, and always kind of second guessing myself. So I have to really be aware of that, or it'll start to take shape again. Being afraid of like, oh, what do people think of me, or what are people gonna say, um, you know, and all these kind of self-conscious thoughts in your subconscious mind. And so that's something I have to be aware of. And so I think where I'm going, is I'm learning more about how to balance ego and confidence and this NoFap energy. And I think meditation is something that I'm practicing more of, strengthening that practice, and mindfulness, and loving kindness meditation. That one's a good one because it really um, puts yourself in this kind of compassionate state of mind. And other than that, I would say I just continue to be myself and continue to wear what I want to wear, and go where I want to go in terms of travel, and not be limited, because of a certain, the future, or whatever. And not like that. Today's mentality of, how it's people judge you by the way you look, or the color of your skin, or something like that. I feel like that's, you know, something from the 1960s or something. For me, I think at least I don't feel like we have to worry about that. It's, you know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the beach, or this city, or even nice area, rich area? If you want to go there, you should be able to go. It doesn't matter, the way you look or anything like that. Or if I want to go there, I'm gonna go there. And so, um, that's definitely something to think about. I think it also had to do with just being out there in the real world compared with being in school. A little bit different, but trying to learn to adapt to that. And I would say that those are some things I've been working on to address, kind of balancing those two opposing sides out. So those are some of my thoughts on NoFap, and I guess the kind of resulting energy. What do you do with that energy, and the confidence that you build, and how do you prevent that from going into having a big head and egoism, and how all these goals you want to achieve. When you become big and when you get up there, that's, I think, something that people that are successful have to really think about, is that are they letting their heads grow too big? And so that's something that I'm trying to, I guess, think about, and trying to what's the best path forward. So this is random stuff with Alex Hughes. Have a great day. See you guys later.